The heavens are telling of the glory of God. Look up and seek His wisdom from above.
As we talk about rapture doctrine, we must deal with the promises made to Abraham. A lot of people don't realize this, but the so-called prophecy scholars of dispensationalism will stress that these are the foundation to it all. In fact, they become a foundational presupposition, as we found a few weeks ago. If you've been keeping up with these videos, you've seen that the foundation beneath rapture doctrine is actually getting kind of shaky with examination. We've already seen that Israel already received the land and that a future possession isn't in the Bible forecast. To get around the fact that Israel did receive the land, dispensationalism tells us that they didn't possess it forever. Since they didn't, then they must get it back. Stick with me on this to the end, and I'll show you how this is one of the most blatant doctrinal hypocrisies ever contrived. Not many people see it. So what does the Bible say? We read in Genesis 13, verses 14 through 15, "And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, Now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, I will give it to you and to your descendants forever." When Moses pled on behalf of sinful Israel, he mentioned God's promise that all this land of which I have spoken I will give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. That's in Exodus 32:13. If God promised the land to Israel forever, then doesn't that mean they have to get it back after losing it? After all, they only had the land a few hundred years to begin with, and less than that when they returned to it after captivity. John Walvoord, a dispensational scholar that we've been quoting several times through all of this, he tells us the emphasis upon its unending application as seen in the words forever in Genesis 13:15, everlasting covenant in Genesis 17:7, and everlasting possession, Genesis 17:8, carries with it the necessity of complete and unconditional fulfillment. What Mr. Walvoord avoids in this issue is gigantic, however. He never gets around to telling us what the Hebrew words for forever or everlasting actually mean. In fact, I can't find any dispensational author who gets around to telling their readers what forever means in the Bible. Even the Dictionary of Premillennial Theology doesn't go there, and it's a dictionary. And readers are led to believe that it means never ending. But even that is not what these authors intend, and I'll prove that in a few minutes. Let's see what the words forever and everlasting mean in Scripture. I've given you a reference at the bottom of the screen here for a Bible Encyclopedia's definition. I hope you'll consult it. You can go online to find it so you don't have to buy anything. But more important to me is a comparison of actual use in Scripture. How are these same words used elsewhere in the Bible? The same word used for everlasting in Genesis 17 and verse 8, and forever in Genesis 13 and verse 15, these are also used of Hannah's promise of her son's stay in the tabernacle in 1 Samuel 1 and verse 22. She and God both knew that it wouldn't be longer than the boy's lifetime. Servants, being released at the Jubilee, could opt to remain forever, but everyone knew it could only be as long as the servant's lifespan. God said his anger on Israel would be forever in Jeremiah 17:4, but we all know that it was actually only for 70 years, as Jeremiah also prophesied in Jeremiah 25, verses 11 and 12. And here's a good one. The annual Day of Atonement was to be a permanent statute, as stated in Leviticus 16, 29 through 34. The word permanent is the same word as forever in Genesis 13:15. Now, if you believe that word forever means Israel should still offer their sacrifices, then you've just denied the entire New Testament book of Hebrews. Those sacrifices have been put away because the sacrifice of Christ put an end to them. So how were they forever? The Bible word doesn't always mean unending. So do these uses mean eternal? No, and no one believes that they do. Before you say, I do, stop and think about where your doctrine leads. The teaching is that it must all culminate in the 1,000-year millennium, and then the earth will be destroyed by fire. So the longest Israel could actually have the land will be 1,000 years. How is that forever in an eternal sense? It's hypocrisy to say it must mean unending when you really believe it will, in fact, end when the earth is burned up. And rapture doctrine does teach that it will end. Next week, we'll talk about where this was all really headed. And yes, it really is the greatest story ever told.